Good afternoon. I'm Woo Sing-moon, Professor of Graduate School of International Studies, Seoul National University. This session is on enhancing educational cooperation in East Asia toward a global epistemic community. We have today 5 panelists. And we have 1 hour 10 minutes for the discussion. So I think that each panelist will have 10 minutes for the 10 minutes for the presentation, and then we have around 20 minutes for the discussion. So first, let me invite Professor Xie Tao, Associate Professor, School of English and International Studies, Beijing Foreign Studies University. Professor Xie.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. First, I want to express my thanks to the Jeju Forum and also the Korea Foundation for inviting me back. Actually, for Korea Foundation, I was here in late March for the Korea Foundation's global seminar. So this is my second visit to South Korea within a month. My topic today will be about enhancing educational cooperation in Northeast Asia. This is a subject that normally is out of my own research area. My research is about U.S. Congress, politics, but this time because I was Assistant Dean in charge of international cooperation for the past 3 years. So I think I have something to say based on my own experience about how do we build up an epistemic community in Northeast Asia. So you look at the slides first here. Let me just stand up. The first one you see, Northeast Asia, I would call it's the home to the economic powerhouses, but in terms of higher education, they are dwarfs. For example, so Northeast Asia is home to China, Japan, the Republic of Korea, respectively the world's second, third largest, and 15th largest economy. But then you look at the world rankings of colleges and universities, the top 100. You'll notice that this region really lags far behind North America and Europe. So here are the top 10 universities around the world that are located in Northeast Asia. So here I give you 2 sources. One is from the Times Higher Education, 2010. The other is from the U.S. News and World Report, 2010 rankings. So you look at the 2 systems. Even though they are different, but you can see eventually the total number of top 100 universities located in this region is very small. The first source shows only 9 universities, and the second one shows only 12. Then I said, Northeast Asia is not the top destinations for international students. So you look at the share of international students in higher education. In 2000, United States has the second largest, third largest, after European Union and other. Of course, the other is a 2 vague category. Then in 2006, United States dropped down to 20%, and the European Union increased a little bit. But these 2 charts show that Asia is not the top destination for international students. And then U.S. is the top destination for Northeast Asian students. You look at China, number 1. In 2010, China has about 127,000 students studying in the United States. The third one is South Korea. And the last one is Japan. Japan has about 25,000 students studying in the United States. Now, Northeast Asia, again, not the top destinations for U.S. students. You look at here, the top destination for U.S. students is United Kingdom, which is understandable, and then Italy, Spain, France. Mostly it's Western Europe. China is the only country among the 3 that is ranked in the top 10, I believe. China is ranked number 5th, and Japan is ranked 11th. So in terms of attracting U.S. students coming to study here. And then flow of students within Northeast Asia. We look at international students in China from North Korea and Japan. You see, this is from the Korea Times. In 2009, there are close to 70,000 Korean students in China. And then about Japanese students, only 16,000. This is a very small number compared with many other countries. Now look at international students in Japan. Chinese students, the largest number, 86,000. This takes up about 60% of total international students in Japan. Korean students, very small, about 1/4 of the size of Chinese students. Now, about Chinese students studying in South Korea. According to 2010 number, this is close to 60,000 Chinese students, accounting for 70% of international students studying in South Korea. Next, let's look at the collaborative research among the three countries, China, Japan, and South Korea. This is a SCI, Science Citation Index, listed collaborative research articles among the three countries between 1995 and 2006. Look at here, Sino-Japan, this is a pretty large number, especially look at 2006, it's 2,380. And then you look at Sino-Korea, this is much, much smaller, drops down significantly down to 700. And then you look at Sino-Japan and Korea, meaning the three country scientists working together. That is even much smaller, only a very, very small fraction of the total number of collaborative research. Next, we look at another area, that's SSCI, Social Science Citation Index. This shows collaboration between the three countries. You look at Sino-Japan is 28, Sino-Korea 19. Japanese, Chinese, and Korean social scientists working together, only 1. So if you compare this chart with the previous one, you can immediately tell that how little collaborative research there is between social scientists in the three countries. Now, the top fields of collaborative research for scientists in the three countries, not surprisingly, mostly it's in science, physics, chemistry. This is for Chinese and Japan. And for Chinese and Korean scientists, it's physics and chemistry, material science. They're more or less the same in terms of ranking. Now, in terms of internationally acclaimed think tanks based in Northeast Asia, again, we look at the number of think tanks in the United States is close to 2,000. In China, 425. Japan, 103. South Korea has the smallest number, 35. Now, the world's top 50 think tanks, non-US, meaning because the United States has so many. Now, there are 15. China's Academy of Social Sciences, this is ranked number 15. Then Japan's Institute of International Affairs, 46th. Then China's Institute of International Affairs. So there is no South Korean think tank ranked among the top 40. So what to make of these findings? The first one is that intra-regional collaborative research has been increasing at a very steady and impressive pace. Second, Sino-Japan collaboration is much more extensive than Sino-Korean collaboration. Thirdly, collaborative research in social sciences lag far behind that in science and engineering. And the last point is that the three countries lag far behind their European and North American counterparts in terms of internationally acclaimed think tanks. So that's what we need to do, look into the future, or looking at the facts. We are lagging behind our European and North American counterparts. Policy suggestions. Number one is the universities in this region should double their efforts in promoting collaborative research in social sciences. I'm a social scientist, and I think sometimes I look around in South Korea and Japan looking for people to work with me. Language is one problem. The other problem is because people do different types of research. So the disciplines in social sciences, for example, political science, sociology, economics, all these are crucial to the education of the next generation of leaders. Ideas and discourse matter. I think today we are having this conference because we believe that ideas and discourse matter. And they are produced mostly by influential social scientists, not by engineers, by scientists. Even though they are very important, but in terms of influencing people, I think social scientists have a especially important role to play. Second, I think governments and universities should establish initiatives to attract more students from both within and outside the region. I call this internationalization of college education in the region. A diverse student body contributes to cultural sensitivity and tolerance, as well as critical learning. That's why in the United States, the U.S. Supreme Court, struck down some of these admissions policies at some major universities. They think, we need a diverse student body to contribute to a vibrant academic community. Specific measures, I think, include one is increase scholarship for international students. Second is to increase degree and non-degree program. As I understand, most of the students, foreign students who study in China today, 80% of them are enrolled in language programs. I think this is far, far from enough. If you want to educate, foreigners, if you want to increase their awareness and appreciation of your local culture, you have to offer something much, much more than their language program. Also, through government or private funding, learning and teaching of each country's language and culture on foreign campuses should be actively promoted. This not only increase local awareness and appreciation of Northeast Asian culture, but also attracts potential students to come and study in Japan, South Korea, and China. But I think this is a very important but. But this cultural promotion should be handled with utmost care, or it can be perceived by local publics as kind of cultural invasion. So I give you a good and bad example. I think the Korea Foundation's Global e-School program, I read this program very carefully. I think this is a very good example. It funds Korean studies on foreign college campuses, as well as cross-country interdisciplinary collaborative research. So this is a very good way because it is less obtrusive. It is less high profile. The other example, I would say this is a bad example that's come from my government. We established the first Confucius Institute in South Korea, actually. But now these Confucius Institutes, because of their physical presence on foreign campuses, they are becoming a symbol of this Chinese cultural imperialism or invasion. Especially when there are some managerial problems. There are some conflicts or disputes between the local university and the Chinese management. And some of these newspapers blow up stories about, how the Chinese management is perceived as, too uncooperative, too, heavy-handed, etc. Another suggestion is about governments and universities should take all necessary measures to attract expatriates who are studying or teaching in elite Western universities. There are too many advantages. One is that they can teach and publish in English. Second, they are at the forefront of advanced research. Thirdly, unlike foreign faculty, they have little difficulty. I would say no difficulty at all. But they will have little difficulty compared with foreigners, adapting to their home culture. I think this is the final point. Since the quality of think tanks depend heavily on the quality of education, academic research or policy research. So I think the first step in building up influential, Northeast Asia-based think tanks is to improve higher education in this area, in particular, PhD education. Producing innovative and visionary researchers. Like today within China, we have a very fierce debate about what's going wrong with China's PhD education. We produce the largest number of PhDs today in the world. We have more institutions conferring PhD degrees than the United States. But the quality of PhD education in China is widely acknowledged as too insufficient, too bad, and some of these times these professors are corrupted, abusive, etc. So the expertise and networking resources of former government officials are crucial to the influence of think tanks. And I think you cannot find a better example than in the United States. So competent and committed formal officials should be actively recruited into think tanks. I put these two words there deliberately. We need competent government officials. We also need committed government officials, not ones just get paid on a think tank because I used to work for the government. Okay. Look ahead. I think Northeast Asia has all the economic underpinnings of a vibrant and influential epistemic community. With proper policy readjustment and institutional restructuring, I think the whole region can quickly build up such a community and produce the next generation of leaders for both the region and the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Xie, for a very interesting and concise presentation on the academic collaboration in Northeast Asia. And now I'd like to invite second panelist, Professor John Duncan.
Thank you, Professor Moon, and of course, thank you to the Jeju Forum and to the Korea Foundation for bringing me here today. I'm not a social scientist. I'm an historian. And so my presentation is likely to be quite different from that of Professor Xie. In addition, I'm a Korea specialist, so I will focus primarily on issues related to Korea. The title of this panel is Enriching Educational Cooperation in East Asia Towards a Global Epistemic Community. But my presentation will take us beyond East Asia to the Americas, with an idea to enhancing understandings of Korea and its place in both East Asia and the world. First, though, I will speak briefly about my experiences engaging in various e-learning activities between Korea and the United States. Then I will turn to the main body of my presentation, in which I will deal primarily with the potential of e-learning for promoting greater interest in and understanding of Korea in Latin America. My first exposure to e-learning came in the early 1990s, shortly after I arrived at UCLA. At that time, UCLA was beginning to explore the use of distance learning for foreign languages, and I happened to be responsible for our advanced Korean language classes, as well as for teaching some classes in Korean history. We set up an arrangement with Seoul National University for my Korean language class and an SNU English language class to interact for 2 hours each week. The discussions among the students, which alternated between the two languages, between Korean and English, were animated at times, but the students at both schools, as well as myself and my colleague at Seoul National University, were all frustrated by the limitations of the technology. While the students could engage in live conversation, it was like talking on the telephone. And the video component did not allow for the transmission of real-time pictures. All we had was a still picture of our classroom and the Seoul National University classroom. At about that time, I also was asked to give a lecture on Korean history to a university in Australia. I found it really discomforting to not be able to see my audience, not be able to gauge their reactions to what I was saying. So those kinds of technical limitations, in addition to the time differences between Los Angeles on the one hand and Korea or Australia on the other, time differences that required us to be on campus late in the evening and required our counterparts over here to be on campus very early in the morning, led me to conclude that e-learning had not yet developed to the point where it would be worth my time and effort. Several years ago, however, I was asked to deliver a lecture on Korean-American relations for a class at Busan National University here in Korea. I agreed to do so only after having been assured that the technology had improved to the degree that I could have real-time visual interaction with my audience. I found it a much more rewarding experience because the students could see me lecture and I could see them reacting. At least I knew they weren't sleeping, right? And because we could engage in question and answer activity just as in a regular classroom. So 3 years ago, when I had the opportunity to have some of my students at UCLA take an e-course on ancient Korean history taught by Professor No Tae-dong at Seoul National University, I was delighted. 11 of our UCLA students majoring in history and archaeology signed up for the course. And they and I found it a really richly rewarding experience. The technology allowed real-time interaction, and the cameras at SNU even followed Professor Nong from his lectern to the blackboard, and would even zoom in on what he was writing on the blackboard, so our students could easily see the Chinese characters and the Hangul that he was putting up for them to use. After each lecture, my students and I would gather for another hour to go over what Professor No had covered in the course, just so we could make sure that those among our students who had somewhat limited language skills could get full benefit of the lectures. Nonetheless, we had some problems. The course that Professor No taught was a regular Seoul National University course, which he had to schedule very early in the morning for our benefit. I had to keep my students very late in the evening. I was able to mobilize my students only because they were my graduate student advisees. You either come to the class or you die. Also, we had to start the class 4 weeks early because Seoul National is on a semester system and we are on a quarter system. I don't think there's any way I could have forced undergraduate students to put up with that kind of hardship, that kind of difficulty. So it seems to me, based on those kinds of experiences, that the differences in time zones and academic calendars make it difficult for those of us in the United States and Canada to take full advantage of opportunities for synchronous e-classes from Korea. I wish that weren't the case, but such it is. So let me turn now to the issue of using e-learning technology for Korean studies in Latin America. There is, I think many of you know, rising interest in the study of Korea in Latin America. Scholars and students there are interested in Korea for many different reasons. Korea's economic development, Korea's democratization, trade, Korea's relations with China and Japan, and of course there's always the North Korean issue, as well as, indeed I say, the Korean wave. There are now approximately 25 faculty members, exclusive of language teachers, at a dozen or so universities in Latin America who do research on and or who teach about Korea. But only 2 or 3 of those scholars are genuine Korea specialists. The rest are generalists of East Asian studies who deal with Korea along with China and Japan. And the overwhelming majority of those professors are either scholars of international relations or international business. And while those scholars often do excellent work in their particular areas of expertise, they are acutely aware of their limitations, and they often feel hampered by structures, practices, and attitudes at their universities. Universities which tend, like those in the United States or Canada, to be Eurocentric and to be reluctant to invest scarce resources to develop new areas of scholarly inquiry in such places as Korea. 5 years ago, we at UCLA approached our Latin American colleagues with a proposal to create a program funded, by the way, by the Academy of Korean Studies here in Korea, intended to enhance the study of Korea in Latin America. And we got a very positive response. Working together with our colleagues in Latin America, we designed and implemented a program that featured, among other things, UCLA faculty going to Latin American countries to give lectures on Korea, or even to give intensive courses. Latin American faculty coming to UCLA to teach courses in areas where we at UCLA did not have expertise. Latin American students coming to UCLA to take courses in Korean studies, and joint research projects involving scholars from both continents. This program has been immensely rewarding for all of us, and I dare say, has contributed to the growth of interest in Korean studies in Latin America, particularly among the student population. But it has its limitations. It provides extraordinary opportunities for a small number, to be precise, 8 students, from Latin America to engage in the intensive study of Korea at UCLA each year. And it affords excellent opportunities for scholars in both the Americas, that is both North America and South America, to collaborate closely on research projects of common interest. But it does not reach large numbers of students, except for the occasional single-shot lectures that UCLA faculty give while on tour in Latin America. We need to find a way to reach more students and to develop a more systematic program of education. So, when I was worrying about this, I learned about the Korea Foundation's new e-school initiative. I said, this is great. I discussed the desirability of such a program in the Americas with my colleagues in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Mexico. The response from them was overwhelmingly positive. The faculty there are interested, as you can imagine, in e-courses in history and other areas where they do not have expertise. But they are also interested in social science e-courses that will enhance their own offerings in such fields as international relations or political science. Some of the universities there are interested in large undergraduate lecture courses which will fulfill requirements for their departmental majors. Other universities are interested in graduate courses to help them develop substantial MA and PhD programs on Korea. The demand is there. The interest is there. However, as my experience in e-learning between Korea and the United States suggests, the difference in time zones will make it difficult for us to use Korean universities to provide the courses for Latin America. That means the most logical choice, at least in terms of logistics, will be Korean studies programs in the United States or Canada. Even that will present some problems. The time zone differences are not great, typically 2 to 4 hours. But there will be issues in coordinating academic calendars and in finding scholars with both the relevant expertise and the time to provide the courses. There are other technical issues related to the actual conduct of the courses. They include such questions as adjusting to the English language capabilities of Latin American students, determining best how to design course websites, how to handle the submission of homework and paper assignments, and, of course, deciding how to administer final examinations. It also seems important to me to provide for follow-up intensive workshops, perhaps in Latin America, perhaps in the United States or Canada, or perhaps in Korea, although the expenses for such workshops will be high. These, however, I think are relatively minor issues that should not prove to be insurmountable. The larger problem, it seems to me, is to ensure that Latin American universities, scholars, and students will invest themselves in the program over the long run. Here, in my view, the biggest issue is to structure and conduct the program in a way that does not simply impose Korean and US or Canadian views on Latin American students. Rather, we need a program that allows for the development of distinctly Latin American understandings of Korea, understandings that reflect Latin American interests and also contribute to a larger set of global discourses about Korea and East Asia. Steps in that direction might include forming an executive committee made up primarily of Latin American scholars to determine the shape and the direction of the program, allowing Latin American universities to choose courses and lecturers, and encouraging Latin American scholars with substantial expertise on Korea to develop their own e-courses for other Latin American universities. I believe that such an approach will further the goal of creating a global epistemic community that incorporates a healthy diversity of understandings about Korea and its place in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Duncan, for this presentation on Korean studies, which is quite interesting. And now I'd like to invite our third panelist, Professor Christine Lee, Professor of Waseda University.
Good afternoon. My name is Maji Christine Lee, and I am currently a professor at Waseda University. And the Waseda University has established a School of International Liberal Studies back in the year 2004. I am hired by them 3 years ago. Prior to joining Waseda University, I was teaching Korean and Korea-related studies at Portland State University, which is located in Portland, Oregon. Today, I'm going to talk about the three different issues today. Number one, it's the unique challenge of Korean studies in Japan, especially in higher education. Language, when it comes to the Korean language, how do you identify Korean language? Korean language is identified in two ways, Chosengo and Kankokugo. And right now at Waseda, it is identified as Chosengo. And why? Not because that it is that there are a lot of pro-Korean scholars, but because that is considered as an academic tradition. Nonetheless, I think this has to be changed because there are a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to representing Korean language as a Chosengo, which is nobody really says Chosengo nowadays in South Korea. I mean, as you know, there are about 600,000 ethnic Koreans living in Japan. What I mean by ethnic Koreans are that they still have their nationality as either South Korean or North Korea. They either have, for those who are like Mindan affiliated ethnic Koreans, would be identified as Zainichi Kankokujin, and those who are affiliated to pro-North Korean community would be identified as Zainichi Chosenjin, and they are the ones who would likely to have North Korean passport and go back and forth in North Korea. At SEALS, which is an acronym for School of International Liberal Studies at Waseda, there are about 80 Korean students, including ethnic Korean students living in Japan. They're either the fourth or fifth generation Korean students. And at Waseda University, overall, as of year 2011, we have about 700 students taking Korean language. Nonetheless, they're identified as they're learning Chosengo instead of Kankokugo, and I think that really has to be remedied. But I think it has been. It's a kind of system. So I think the e-course that we just started, it is very at the initial stage, but I think it's very significant to properly introduce the differences between the South Korea and North Korea, because for majority of the Japanese living in Japan would be sort of would usually associate Korea as Chosen, North Korea as Kita Chosen, and Korea as just Kankoku. Okay, so the bifurcated academia is still going on. So there are, North Korean led, pro-North Korean community-led community is academic community is called the Chosen Gakkai. That's the academic institute or academic Japanese conference on Korean studies. So Korean studies is usually identified as Chosengaku. Okay, so what's the significance of the e-course on Korea by Korea Foundation? I think it is, this is what I sort of came up with an analogy. Although it is a small start, I think it's very significant, especially for those who attended pro-North Korean high school, the graduate of Chosengaku. And they are the ones who wear like white shirt, chimajogori. That's how they identify themselves, wearing chimajogori. And there is so much a stigma sort of attached to the Zainichi Chosenjin and Zainichi Kankokujin. So much for the Zainichi Chosenjin. Usually they're bullied because of the dress. It's so conspicuously can be identified. So and some because I'm also Associate Dean of Student Affairs, I see like students who are the graduate of Chosenjin Gakko, and they have like a huge conflict between their parents. The parents, they're the believer of the North Korea, and they wear this what they call Kim Il-sung kind of badge. So they're the really promoters of North Korea And here, this is the 21st century, and people say, are you out of your mind? I mean, are there still people like that? Yes, there are. Okay, so 在日朝鮮人 is yes, Soren Gakkai, and Chosen Daigaku. This is the university that exclusively is attended by pro-North Korean students. And Chosen Gaku, this is the research group on Korean studies. There isn't such a thing as Kankoku Gaku. So built-in stereotypes, Chosenjin and Kankokujin. The voting rights. This is the main issue for both pro-North Koreans and the South North ethnic Koreans in Japan. And Kika, which means the naturalization, this is, there are not so many people who are leading to naturalization. Nonetheless, the immigration policy is very limited. And what this means to the ethnic Koreans, the college students, they have a very limited access to becoming like a professional. If you want to become a medical doctor or a lawyer, it's very highly limited. So right now, the Hallyu and Hallyu versus indifference, is it really Hallyu, the Korean wave? Is it a success in Japan? That's, I think, kind of questionable at this time. So minorities in Japan, there are also burakumin, and comparing the minority rights and how they sort of educate, the focus on their rights vis-a-vis the ethnic Koreans, divided ethnic Koreans would be very much the significance of introducing e-course on campus at Waseda. So in order to build toward a constructive relationship, I think searching for win-win knowledge is, I think, what it truly means by epistemic community. Thank you so much for inviting me to have this kind of opportunity to present on e-course at Waseda. Thank you again.
Thank you very much for your cooperation anyway. Now I'll ask Ms. Choi Hyun-sun, Director Korean in charge of the Korean Studies at the Korea Foundation, to speak
for 10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes, please. Yeah.
What's that? I'll do very fast. First of all, on behalf of the Korea Foundation, I am very pleased to brief, to introduce the Korea Foundation and its new initiative, which is called KF Global eSchool on this occasion. And I would look into the global trends and KF's mission briefly, and then Korea and KF's assets for educational cooperation in East Asia. And then the KF Global eSchool, which was designed and launched this March as part of endeavors to strengthen educational network in East Asia. And then lastly, I would look into the outcomes the Korea Foundation expects to create through the new initiative KF Global eSchool program. These days, the global trend in this soft power, and more emphasis has been placed on soft power than hard power. And the major components of soft power might be the knowledge power. And when dealing with regional cooperation issues, in general, I think the economic and political issues comes before cultural and humanitarian issues. But I think the educational issues are the fundamental infrastructure on the basis of which all the other, whatever type of collaboration can be built up. So the Korea Foundation has identified the development of human resources for international exchanges is quite crucial for building up the regional and global collaboration. And the key of the nurturing of next generation global professionals with Asian values, and at the same time global perspectives will be the key to to build up the educational cooperation, not only in East Asia, but in the broader global international community. One of the most representative assets the Korea can accumulate it in terms of knowledge production and knowledge sharing are the political and economic development. These two factors are the political democratization, as mentioned before, and at the same time the economic modernization. So we at the Korea Foundation think that these two factors can be utilized as benchmarking cases for other countries in East Asia. And today's society, the major characteristics of today's society is network society, and in particular, the Korea, the networking, IT information networking is highly developed. The Korea Foundation intends to serve as a platform for the promotion of academic networking and thereby to build up effective collaboration in education and research. So to carry out these listed 5 objectives, the Korea Foundation launched the KF Global eSchool. And the most important objective the Korea Foundation think is to nurture future generations of Korean studies scholars. To look into the KF Global eSchool program, the academic fields include all the subjects in the social sciences as well as humanities. And the curriculum, the Korean professors or overseas foreign professors will develop or are developing will be focused on Korea from an objective comparativist perspective. And the lecturers will be Korean professors or either Korean professors or foreign professors in Korea or abroad. Where they are residing is not a matter. And the education and the teaching language and the medium language of education will be mainly English, but in the cases of Korean language and culture, the Korean language will be more efficient. So the KF Global eSchool program is mainly targeted to East Asia, but the Korea Foundation does not exclude any region from this program. As mentioned by Professor Boswell, the regional blocks can form a consortium to share their knowledge. The KF Global eSchool, under the KF Global eSchool, the regular courses related to Korea will be offered for at least 14 or up to 16 weeks. And then as the KF Global eSchool program is basically the online real-time regular courses programs in Korean studies, there might be big obstacles particularly in terms of physical distance and the online communications. So to overcome these limitations, the Korea Foundation thinks that the intensive face-to-face workshops and seminars will be complemented to the compensated for the real-time online lectures. And what I think the one-time academic event are not very helpful for solid academic cooperation. So the Korea Foundation will identify the students with high achievement. So they will be invited either to Korea or to a third country of their preference to further their studies. One of the most important things for the universities in Korea and other universities in East Asian region will be the scope of the Korea Foundation support. The Korea Foundation support will include expenses related to course offerings and also curriculum development and the whatever type of offline activities, such as workshops and seminars. And in addition to these support, the Korea Foundation will also extend its support through existing support programs, which are Korean language training program, graduate studies fellowship, and field research fellowship. And finally, lastly, the desired outcome will be to enhance international academic cooperation through strengthened network and to nurture Koreanists, specialists, and professionals who will bridge Korea and other countries in East Asia. And thereby, in doing so, I think the Korea Foundation can build up an epistemic community in which all the regional or global issues can be tackled efficiently. Thank you.
Well, when I was first contacted by the Korea Foundation, I was also asked to make a short presentation on what I am launching together with the Korean Ministry of Education. So now it's time for me to make a short presentation on the educational cooperation North Asia under the which is being implemented under the name of Campus Asia. So I will spend maybe less than 10 minutes for this project, which might be very much interesting to some of the participants in this panel. Well, as far as I understand, well, under the current title, under the title of the current panel, there are two big topics. One is on the cooperation on the academic cooperation Northeast Asia, and the second one is obviously on the Korean studies. So my presentation my presentation will be, of course, for the first topic. So just because I do not have much time to explain it, let me just briefly mention that three governments in Northeast Asia, Korea, Japan, China, decided to launch a higher education student mobility program under the name of Campus Asia. Campus means collective action in student mobility in Northeast Asia, something like, which was coined by the government officials in our Ministry of Education. And so I'll just skip the current situation for the student mobility, but people in this region might have the impression that there are quite very important student mobility among the three Northeastern countries, and probably could have some data, but this is more or less due to the fact that there are more and more Chinese students going abroad, and there are more and more Chinese students coming to Korea and Japan and so on. So this might camouflage the fact that there was no intense collaboration among top universities in North Korea. For instance, I'll just show the case of the Seoul National University, to which I belong. And as some of you might know, that there is quite close collaboration among Seoul National University, Tokyo University, and for instance, and Peking University. But this is actually the result for the student exchange among these top three universities in Northeast Asia. As you see, for instance, just one or two from Japan, and from China to Seoul National University, and this is the same from SNU to Japan and China and so on. So this is really very disappointing. So there is need to strengthen this kind of collaboration, especially for the future leaders, especially if you have the goal to promote the future leaders in Northeast Asia. This higher education cooperation is essential. Actually, this need was recognized by the leaders of the three universities, so that this project, which is called Campus Asia, was launched. Will be launched this year. And the idea actually is, well, let me just go to this. So this year, it was decided that more or less 100 students from each country will start their mobility to the other Asian countries, to the other Northeast Asian countries. Altogether, about 300 students will start their mobility. The program has some very special, if you like, features. First, this mobility should be trilateral. For instance, Korean students should go to Japan and China at the same time, and that's the same for the Japanese students, and that will be the same for Chinese students. At the same time, this program is not just simple student exchange, as you see. This program encourages universities in each country to strengthen their institutional cooperation in such a way to create, which is more and more popular these days for the academic cooperation, such as double degree program and joint degree program. So, for instance, eventually this initiative is intended to create an Asian double degree or Asian joint degree program in many different areas, including social science, technology, and maybe even in humanities. And obviously, in the Shonan, the most convenient language will be English, but it does not necessarily exclude those programs that will be done in local languages such as Korean and Japanese and Chinese and so on. And let me just briefly finish my presentation with the perspective for these types of programs, just because now the academic collaboration among the higher education institution is not just is so much well emphasized, but more and more in the direction of creating double degree and joint degree programs. So in that respect, maybe Korea is really highly appreciated by the appropriate partner, not only by Asian countries, but also outside, but also by those countries like United States. For instance, when according to one study carried out by the United States specialist on education issue, most of the American universities consider Korea as one of the 5 best partners for their future collaboration in double degree or joint degree program. So I think that the future for the higher education collaboration is more or less in this direction, and this will be also has some advantage to attract students to Asia and so on. And in that respect, Asia, it's obvious that Asia should work more creating Asian degrees, or sometimes non-degree program will be fine, but more or less Asian degree programs in different areas, and Campus Asia is really in this regard. Campus Asia will be really the initiative, really the most important initiative, which is led by Korean government, Korean and Japanese Chinese government together, and all these 3 governments promised to provide the necessary support. So this is my very short presentation. Now, given that 5 panelists, including me, had their own short presentation on 2 very important topics. One is how we cooperate more in Northeast Asia. Secondly, on how we might promote Korean studies. We might have some maybe a very interesting recommendations and policies to recommend. So, for instance, but I do not think that these 2 topics are not very much separate. For instance, in Korea we have Korean Studies program, which is promoted by Korea Foundation. But in Japan, there are similar initiatives done by Japan Foundation, and even in China. There are those initiatives to create a Confucius Institute and so on. And, I'm not expert on education issues, but maybe it's a good idea to think about the collaboration among all these, institutions in charge of promoting their own, if you like, national programs, Korean studies, Japanese, and Chinese studies program, so that 3 countries have the room to work together to promote what is called East Asian studies instead of just Korean studies or Japanese studies, Chinese studies program. So if that could be done, it might be also very much interesting to the Asian, not only to the Asian countries, but also outside Asian countries, including the U.S. and so on. So now I will ask each panelist to make some short comments on these 2 topics, focusing on what should be done, especially to promote to more collaboration among Asian countries, and secondly, on how to collaborate more to promote Korean or Japanese or Chinese studies together, maybe, and so on. So if you have some comments to make, you could, or I'd like to ask each panelist in reverse order to briefly to make a very brief comments or make some suggestions and so on. And then after that, I will just take some questions or comments from the floor. Okay, so first, Mrs. Chair, do you have some remarks to make?
Actually, there are many obstacles we have to overcome in efficiently implementing KF Global e-school programs. But in the meantime, I remember that I forgot to introduce the Korea Foundation. So let me briefly introduce the Korea Foundation. The Korea Foundation is a non-profit organization affiliated with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and aims to facilitate the awareness and understanding of Korea. And at the same time, it tries to foster cooperative relationship in the international community through various academic and cultural activities. And if you, at later time, if you have any questions regarding the KF Global e-school program, I think I can sincerely respond to your questions. Thank you.
The e-school project that we are sharing with Waseda University and Seoul National University, I think, is very significant. Why? Because there can be actual, because of the Polycom. We interact through Polycom, and one more addition would make like e-course close to perfection, which is Blackboard. Blackboard means that each and every student can sort of interact with as a kind of chat type of communication. So I think that is a very minor technical issue. However, up to this point, I think it has been a very significant, and I'm very thankful that Korea Foundation has launched on this kind of e-school project.
Wow. Lots to react to here. I was very impressed with the Campus Asia program that Professor Moon outlined. I have a lot of sympathy for Professor Ri and the difficulty she's encountering in Japan. Of course, Ms. Che, Director Che, I think gave us a very good overview of what the Korea Foundation's program is in this area in e-school. I'd like to mention a couple of things, part related to what Professor Che said, and partly related to my own experiences with regards to sort of overcoming the epistemic divide between Korea and the United States, for example. The gulf in perceptions of Korean history between historians working in Korea and historians working in the United States has been vast, to the point where they almost cannot talk to each other at times. And this has worried me a lot. And so what we did at UCLA was about 15 years ago to launch a initiative where all of our PhD students in Korean history at UCLA were required to spend at least 1 year as a graduate exchange student at a university in Korea. So we've sent a lot of our students to Korea University, and we send a lot of them to Yonsei University, where they have to take courses with Korean graduate students under Korean professors. And we think that that has given our students a much better understanding of the Munjeoishik, the issues that Korean scholars are working with, and the conditions within which Korean scholars work. We have also received exchange students from Korea University and Yonsei University who have come to UCLA to do a year's study, taking our courses, working with our students. And we're beginning to see, I think, some of the results. We're beginning to create a less divided epistemic community. Find that younger scholars trained at UCLA and trained at Yonsei and trained at Korea University are beginning to collaborate together closely on various projects, and it's been very gratifying. And so that makes me think a bit about your problem. Your problem is a little bit different because you're concerned about how to elevate the overall quality of graduate education. But it seems to me that those kinds of formal cooperative relationships with universities outside of China may be one way to help enhance the quality of PhD education in China.
Well, I was just rushing through the PPT, so actually the recommendations were already in the slides. I'm probably one of the few in the room that do not teach Korean, but the KF program is enormously inspiring to me. I was talking to Director Kim that I'm looking for people in South Korea and Japan to work on some research concern about North Korean issue or Northeast Asia in general. So when I saw the program, I saw a big opportunity for me to either come here to collaborate with South Korean scholars or Japanese scholars. So I think I really want to commend the Korea Foundation for doing such a great service to the academic community. That's all. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me second that.
Before I'll make my own wrap-up, I'd like to invite invite some questions from the floor. So if you have some questions or remarks to make, please don't hesitate. And as far as I understand, the official language for this talk is Korean or English. So if you like, you just speak in Korean or in English, whatever. And I found out that I have a very interesting person today. In fact, in our panel, we have one Korean government official from the Ministry of Education, Mr. Lee, who is currently Deputy Director at our Ministry of Education in charge of the Campus Asia. So probably he might have some something to explain regarding Campus Asia. So, Professor, also Mr. Lee, do you have something to talk regarding Campus Asia, maybe? So, because we have this simultaneous translation, you could talk either in Korean or in English. So, maybe 2 minutes. And whoever has the intention to ask questions, then and after him, just after him.
It's not a question, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No. So he has the floor first. 이준 먼저 하세요.
예, 안녕하십니까. 저는 한국교육과학기술부에 근무를 하고 있는 이주원 사무관이고요. 지금 문우식 교수님께서 설명하신 캠퍼스 아시아 사업을 담당을 하고 있습니다. 갑자기 부탁을 하셔서 당장 드릴 말씀은 없는데, 저는 오히려 한 가지 좀 오늘 패널로 여러 전문가분들이 나오셨으니까 한 가지 여쭤보고 싶은 게 있는데, 아까 시에타오 교수님께서 대학이 특히 사회과학 분야에서 공동 협력 연구를 증진을 해야 된다고 말씀을 하셨고, 근데 그 말씀을 하시면서 이제 그런 공동 협력을 할 때 특히나 언어적인 어려움이 굉장히 크다라는 말씀을 하셨습니다. 저도 캠퍼스 아시아 프로그램을 기획을 하면서 언어적인 어려움이 가장 크다는 데 되게 공감을 하고요. 대안의 하나로 이제 서부 대학의 그런 어떤 교수 요원을 영어가 가능한 교수진을 유치하는 부분도 말씀을 해주셨는데, 혹시 그 부분 외에도 어떤 다른 대안을 갖고 계시거나 생각하시는 부분이 있으시다면 이런 좀 언어적인 어려움을 극복할 수 있는 방법이 어떤 것이 있을지 좀 질문을 드리고 싶습니다.
Thank you. So now it's your time. Yeah. So please identify yourself. And then,
again, so my name is Xie Tao. I work at Beijing Foreign Studies University. Anyway, the question for me, I think you raised a very important question. And also, I was very much frustrated last 2 years. I came to South Korea a couple of times, and each time I talked to people because I want to do some collaborative research in public opinion research. Each time over the dinner or lunch table, either I could not explain myself clearly to my Japanese or Korean colleagues, or what they say I did not understand. But I think one solution to this problem is in social science, at least in political science, economics, psychology, sociology, What I meant is that most of the time we use numbers. We crunch numbers. We run statistical models. So if there's a way you can post the data, like in the United States, you have that inter-university consortium for social science data at the University of Michigan. I believe that they have an inter-university consortium. So if you can post some of your researchers' social science data, survey data, economic data, like the data Professor just presented on college education, I think this will be immensely helpful for others who are looking for partners to collaborate on research. Of course, I completely agree with you that for Campus Asia, it would be ideal if you recruit faculty who are fluent in English, who can publish in English. But if you cannot, I would suggest that having a consortium of data would be great. And that's my personal opinion.
Okay, so now you have the floor.
Thank you for your information on the Telelink teaching systems about more than 21 years ago. I think I can remember that who was chancellor of the UCLA, but UCLA chancellor and myself, then President Besenu, then we created the Telelink system at the time. That's a very much primitive, but nowadays the online systems become very better. So why we can't think of like that cyber systems, cyber university systems, that can overcome that time lag between the regional. Then so we can think of some, yeah. Of course, the language is a problem, but anyway, that's. I hope it's become better in the future.
Okay, Professor Duncan.
Thank you. Thank you for starting the program 20-some years ago, and thank you for your suggestions. I, too, would love to see a way that we could overcome the difference in time zone.
Okay, I think now it's time to wrap up this session. As said, there are two topics. The first one is on how to promote more intra-regional cooperation, not necessarily in research area, but also in student mobility. And the second topic is, of course, on Korean studies. And first, when it comes to the academic collaboration Northeast Asia, obviously, as Professor Xie has emphasized, we have to strengthen the collaboration in social science, but also it's not limited to social science, of course. And the government should strengthen the efforts to attract more students. And there are all the reasons to strengthen this cooperation, for instance, through such initiative like Campus Asia. But as said, one important barrier is the language. So maybe there might be a need. I'm just wondering whether there might be a need to spend more time and efforts in strengthening the language education, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and so on. This is this would be very important. And when it comes to Korean studies, there are many interesting talks as well. For instance, personally, I consider the initiative UCLA to develop Korean studies in Latin America, and this is my personal opinion. But I'm just wondering whether it might be good for Korean Foundation to to have, for instance, the hub and spoke approaches. For instance, given that we have limited resources, for instance, it's not easy for Korean Foundation to invest again in Latin America. In that case, for instance, maybe UCLA could be a hub for the Latin American Korean studies, so that Korean studies, Korea Foundation, UCLA, and many Latin American universities could work together to promote more Korean studies abroad. And also, so I think this hub and spoke approach might be what Korea Foundation should consider very much in the future. And also, I found out that there are those areas, Korea, Japan, and China could work together to promote more East Asian studies. For instance, the e-learning or the global e-learning program launched by Korea Foundation could be done not only by Korea Foundation but also by the Japan Foundation and then the corresponding Chinese institution. And then once East Asian studies are promoted, there will be wider audience, obviously, and there will be a big impact. And also, it helps Korea, Japan, China work together in higher education area. So I strongly recommend the Korea Foundation to consider this possibility as well. And so, so this is the maybe this might be the suggestion I could make to Korea Foundation and maybe to Korea and to the Korean government. And also, I have maybe it's the Korean problem, but I found out there is also a strong room for our Ministry of Education and Korea Foundation to work together, maybe to strengthen the Korean studies abroad and maybe East Asian studies abroad and so on. Okay, thank you, and I conclude this session. Thank you again for participating in this panel.